This is HBR News number 399. Oh, actually, this is number 400. Sorry. Army Sergeant pardoned, prostate cancer win? Depression different between the sexes, where we reflect on the stories of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. Today is not an international month of anything, so it's just April. I hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all this absurdity so that you are not consumed by it. I am your host, Brian Martinez, and I am joined by, as always, my co-hosts, Mike J and Hannah. I'm going to put Mike J on the screen here because I forgot. I wasn't sure if he was coming or not. So, we have a great show lineup for you guys today, so please be sure to continue the conversations both in the chat as well as the comment section. On this week's HBR News Show, we're going to be talking about the recent pardoning of a sergeant who killed an armed protester. New Jersey is going to be a safe haven for children seeking gender-affirming care, and some new developments regarding prostate cancer treatment that I think you guys will like, and more. So stick around, it's going to be a good time. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. And I'm going to put it on the screen here, and I'm going to put Mike J back in. So I have this article that it's not a news story, so I said this could be a good after-show topic. It's entitled, "I Made My Husband Quit Porn. Some Say I'm Dramatic, but It's Cheating." So we will figure out what she means by that. Is porn cheating? I mean, I think I know what they're getting at. Let us know what you guys think in the comments if you wish. But if you really want to be a part of this discussion as we read through this article, then you have to become a Badger by going to feedthebadger.com and setting up a monthly subscription. $5 a month at least. You can do more if you want. Will get you access to our Discord that has the exclusive rooms as well as a lot of bonus content. And you'll be able to watch the video just like you're watching this one right now and even put in your comments. And I'll usually read those because the number of people watching the after show stuff is significantly less. So please consider...
the article was I made my husband quit porn because it's cheating, right? Not I made my husband quit porn and I quit reading romance novels for girls that are porn, basically.
That's not cheating.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah. The first time I heard this headline, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I mean, if he's participating, if he's filming pornography, if he's, being an actor in porn, well, yeah, of course it's cheating. And then,
no, it's just watching porn
as in observing the pornography.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew right away it was some chick getting mad that her husband looked at naked people on the internet.
Yeah, so
such a rare thing to find, naked people on the internet.
Yeah, that's like nearly impossible.
Totally.
So anyway, yeah, so please consider joining us on feedthebadger.com. And if you want to find out where our content lives in the event that we have been yeeted from the internet, then go to badgerfeed.com. That's badgerfeed.com or honeybadgerradio.com. I know a lot of websites. Blame Allison. All right, so we're going to move on, get into today's stories. So let's start. I think this is, Mike J, this is yours. We're going to talk about this pardoning. So I'm going to give you the floor.
Oh, potential pardoning. That's
right. Potential pardoning. I know. Yeah, there is more to this.
In Austin, Texas, during the 2020 Summer of Love riots, which saw large metropolitan cities burned in the wake of the drug-induced death of one George Floyd, another drama played out. U.S. Army Sergeant Daniel Perry was working that night as an Uber driver when his work brought him into the middle of a mob of protesters. Unable to retreat from the situation, Perry attempted to navigate through the crowd that was flooding the streets of Austin. Soon protesters began pounding on his vehicle, and then a man clad in military-style gear, holding an AK pattern rifle at the ready, approached his vehicle and began to point the weapon in Perry's direction. Perry drew his concealed carry revolver and fired 5 shots at the man later identified as Garrett Foster, killing him. Perry would then turn himself into police shortly after and was released without it being clear if charges would ever be pressed. Several months later, Jose Garva, a George Soros-backed progressive district attorney, would have Perry indicted for murder, and the trial that followed would see him convicted. After many on social media protested the sentence and the trial that followed, skip the line there. After many on social media protested the sentence and even asked if Texas Governor Greg Abbott could do something about it, he responded in a tweet. And in that tweet, Governor Abbott stated, quote, "I look forward to approving the board's pardon recommendation as soon as it hits my desk. Texas has one of the strongest stand your ground laws of self-defense that cannot be nullified by a jury or a progressive district attorney," end quote. The only remaining obstacle standing in the way of the pardon is the state constitution, which requires a recommendation from the State Board of Pardons and Paroles before the governor can actually pardon them.
All right, so I wanted to ask Mike, why did you have like a desire to talk about this story? Because I know that you shared the link, and you also did the write up.
I wanted to talk about this because we saw like Kyle Rittenhouse, for example.
Yeah.
And a lot of people thought that was going to be such a slam dunk case. At least a few people did. And then just the legal muck that kid went through. And again, if he did not have absolutely everybody there filming him, if he did not have, I think there was like no less than 12 different angles of that shooting. Then this would have happened.
Yeah.
What happened to Perry here? There was one video. It was very blurry. The most you can see, which was what they really heavily relied on, was this man, Garrett Foster, holding up the rifle, beginning to point it at Sergeant Perry's car. And that was actually a bit of evidence that I do believe the prosecution was able to get thrown out, as well as this too blurry. Who could notice? Who could say anything? Happened there. We've got all these witnesses saying it didn't happen that way. And when you take a step back from that, think of it like, well, yes, all the witnesses were fellow protesters.
Of course.
Why would they say, "Oh yeah, he definitely pointed the rifle at him. He deserved to get shot"? They're never going to say that. And then they also dredged through this guy's social media. And this guy was, constantly talking with friends, like, because at this point, you got to think, at this point, the protests / riots that were happening in Austin, Texas, had been going on for weeks.
Yeah. Summer of love.
And he said several times, look, man, Austin's a big city. I live right next to it, because he lived at Fort Hood, which is, right next to Austin, or inside Austin, one or the other. And he's like, I might have to drive into downtown, and if that happens, I'm scared I might have to shoot somebody.
Yeah.
And they, oh my God, this prosecution was so slimy.
Of course.
They took things like that and they truncated it. And they're like, you tweeted according to this, you tweeted prior, or you said in a text message to a friend that due to your proximity to Austin, you were going to have to shoot someone.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: was there a jury trial?
Yes.
So the jurors all basically just threw this guy under the bus.
Yeah, and that's another thing too.
If exculpatory evidence was thrown out and you had a bunch of witnesses testifying and you had a presentation like that, there's only so much a good lawyer can do. They probably made this guy look like some sort of a fanatic in court.
Yeah. Like they did with Rittenhouse, like they did with Derek Chauvin.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Most people do not understand what goes on in the legal system, right? Texas has this really strong stand your ground law. And really, honestly, it shouldn't even be needed. If you are attacked and you make every effort to peacefully escape the attack, walk away from the attack, run away from the attack, whatever, to not be involved in a conflict with your attacker, and your attacker puts effort into making it so that you cannot escape the attack and you have to deal with them, one-on-one, that should be enough that you have a right to self-defense.
Yeah.
That was the situation. But I can tell you firsthand, it's not enough. You don't have a right to self-defense under that situation, according to the police. Police will cite you for whatever they can cite you for being involved in a violent conflict with another person if they cannot find a clear victim, and if they can't make you the clear victim. So if you've had to shoot the other person and they didn't break into your house, for instance, they're definitely going to cite you. If you're in your car someplace, you're definitely going to get cited. And then, it's all downhill from there, because as soon as you get cited by the police, investigation doesn't become about making sure that they've got it right. Investigation becomes about making sure that they can convict you.
Mm-hmm.
It has absolutely nothing to do with the truth. It has absolutely nothing to do with civil rights. It has absolutely nothing to do with justice. It is all about getting convictions, because when the prosecutor runs for office, sorry, it's that time of year again, guys. When a prosecutor runs for office, he's not going to run on having been the most fair and balanced and meticulous prosecutor who made sure that he went after the guilty and not the innocent. He's going to go on how many prosecutions in a place like Texas. And the only time that he's going to say anything about being fair is if it has to do with social justice, because then he'll get the woke vote. So you either get the book thrown at you for the prosecutor's conviction count, or you get the book thrown at you for his social justice cred. But you never can trust that the cops or a prosecutor will treat you fairly. Ever.
So, Mike, what's the story with the jury? And I agree, Hannah, that all 100%. I mean, it's pretty disheartening to see that our justice system is so corrupt, and I'm sure that this is just as bad in other Western countries. But like, I think this case in particular is egregious, because we're looking at, from what we know, it's clearly a stand your ground thing, and it seems like the people that they just intended to put him away, and they didn't care. They didn't care about the truth. They didn't care about justice. They didn't care about any of that. So why would the jurors go along with this? Is there like a story behind that?
There's really nothing known about the jurors. This case, honestly, I was really surprised when it popped up again, because from, like I said at the very beginning of the write-up, I heard that, okay, so, the initial incident happened. This guy went ahead, turned himself into police. And then they basically said, well, no one's charged you with anything. Just, go home and please don't leave the state. Months passed. And then this progressive DA got in and immediately set up an indictment for, they charged him with murder, manslaughter, and aggravated assault. And then, I heard that was going on. But at the same time, I didn't hear any, like, blow-by-blows, any back and forth with it. And apparently it took them a week to deliberate this. The jury did.
Yeah. I guess that took longer than Derek Chauvin. But there's still some, I don't know. I hope this goes through. It may, I guess the governor said that he will.
Yeah, it's got to be the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles has to consider a pardon, and but if they do that, Greg Abbott says, "Hell yeah, I'll take care of it."
Okay.
The only thing that makes me really worried about that and that's kind of going to be the overarching theme here, is that it is headquartered in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
This jury was a jury from Austin, Texas.
Yeah, Austin,
This
Texas
DA
is
a
the
DA
woke
from
part
Austin,
of Texas.
Yes,
Yeah.
Austin, Texas is the blueberry in the sea of cherries.
Yep. So I guess we will follow up when we know more. I mean, there's not much else to say except this guy he shouldn't even be going through the shit that he's going through now. Like, that should have been done and done. But of course, you know, you get these like progressive prosecutors, and of course, and you know, they're okay with criminals being on the street. Don't get this twisted, okay? They just want their criminals on the street. That is to say, they want criminals on the street, and then like innocent people who are, you know, practicing their Second Amendment rights, well, they're the ones that need to get locked up. So,
they want criminals on the street that will convince you to ask for more policing. That's what they want.
Yeah.
And it's really insidious. It's really it's really gaslighting.
Yeah.
And they've done this in California, where they've pretty much set up a situation where living there is absolute hell for people now, because you know, in different places, not the whole state, because a lot of California is also red, actually.
Yeah.
But living in the blue parts
Illinois,
of California,
sweeping corners of it.
Mm-hmm.
That was the
Illinois
thing that always
same.
pissed me off about living in California. When people be like, California's on fire. Those fucking liberals are getting what they deserve. And it's like, it's always the heartlands. It's always up north. It's always where the red blood Trump supporters live.
Yeah.
You fucking mongoloids.
Yeah, of course.
And then this, you know, you have the blue parts of California where the prosecutors are not prosecuting, and the laws have been changed, and the homeless aren't even being helped to escape addiction. Now they're actually being enabled instead. Which people don't understand that issue either. Like, that's a bit more nuanced. When people call it a choice, it's kind of like calling not getting better from a broken leg a choice because you chose to do the thing that caused your leg to get broken. Well, yes, but now it's broken and you need treatment, because it's not going to heal right if you don't get treatment. And so yeah, it's really the whole thing is really insidious. And then, you know, you also have the same thing taking place in Seattle and Portland and many other blue cities.
Portland's like they're closing down like all of their big grocery stores. It's gonna turn into a food desert. Literally, it's gonna be nothing but liquor stores and little like greasy spoon shops run by Middle Eastern people that have bulletproof glass on their windows. That's what
I had a friend move out of there.
Huh?
Yeah, I had a friend move out of there, not Portland but Seattle.
Yeah.
And it was because of the woke prosecutors, the crime, the environment she was living in. Like, people do not know all the stuff that was going on during the protests. They weren't just attacking businesses. They were going into people's homes and killing their pets. It was really bad. And all of this is designed for you to get scared, get upset in those areas, and call for more policing, call for more state authority and more crackdowns. And then the next thing you know, they're cracking down on you, and you're going, this isn't what I wanted.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, Chicago just elected somebody worse than Lori Lightfoot.
Right.
And
but the point
I know that city is basically run by the mafia. But
the thing I want to finish with on this before I let go of it is the way that you know that this is about scaring you into asking for more police work is that in situations like this, they don't prosecute the criminals. They don't go after the rioters. They don't go after burglars. They don't go after muggers. They don't go after any of those guys, right? But if you fight back, if you defend yourself, all of a sudden, there's law enforcement.
Yep. Yeah, sure. This guy that because I don't live in Chicago anymore, so I didn't vote for this shit. But this guy is a defund the police guy. he said openly that, you know, he's going to do that, and he's going to put in like, I don't know, he claims that he's going to try and do some, you know, counseling type of solution. That's not going to work. The criminality there is the worst. And of course, like, I think the DA, Fox, she's always letting criminals out, like, you know, the next day. It is San Francisco. It is Portland. It is Seattle. It's the same damn thing. And on top of that, you know, he's going to bring all his friends in, because he said that. He said, I'm going to bring all my friends in. It's going to be a hellhole. And, you know, I know why he was voted in. I won't get into it, but it wasn't because of his policies. That's what I'll say. It definitely wasn't, because if it was, the other guy would have won, because at least that guy was talking about being tough on crime. But anyway, I just wanted to get off my chest really quick, because I have friends and my mother lives there, and I just hope that, you know, they can like endure the next 4 years and maybe make a wiser choice on who they vote for. If it's possible, I mean. You know, like I said, the place is run by the mob. So,
well, that's the question. Are they really voting for that, or is like? Because that was Acorn Central too. You know.
Yeah, that's true. But
is their election fair?
Yeah, I don't know. But like the thing is that their options aren't great anyway. Like last time, there was all Democrats running, so it was just about like, well, how much shit do you want in your stew? And when it comes down, what it comes down to is, well, which I don't care what they're running on, because I don't pay attention to that. Like these people, they're low information voters, so they just go, well, it's either the black guy or the white guy. I'm gonna vote for the black guy, and then that's it. That's what they do. That's
you also have a situation where the politicians, you don't really get a good choice between left and right on this, because you have the left going, well, let's just let everybody go, psychiatric treatment, and that's it, and, you know, counseling and blah, blah, blah. And you have the right.
Well, there are no right-wing people running for mayor. Not in Chicago.
When you do get the right running, they're tough on crime, throw them up against. They sound just like Joe Biden sounded when he was campaigning for the crime bill. The federal crime bill.
Well, I mean,
and the sad thing is, you get one or the other, and the reality needs to be, it's like, you can't take somebody who had started out in the juvenile justice system and has a 20-year career of criminality and say, well, we're just going to make you get therapy, but during that time you're going to be on the street, because that's somebody that actually needs intensive therapy. They have been programmed into this lifestyle through trauma that isn't going to just heal, and they're not going to just change the way they live and the way they perceive the world and everything in a few weeks of therapy. So if it's somebody who has committed a murder, or somebody who has committed like an armed robbery, or somebody who's been in gang violence, that's not somebody that you can just say, well, you know, go home, and every Thursday you're going to show up and talk to this lady.
Well, yeah, of course not.
You know,
because they don't want to fix that problem.
And at the same time, on the right, they're throwing them into a prison system where they're continually getting more programmed into that lifestyle. We don't have politicians that want to solve this problem. We have politicians that want to perpetuate it because it's profitable.
Yeah, sure. But the thing is, I don't think that the actual solution to this problem, the government can't implement it. It's got to be, the culture has to change. But the government should, at the very least, protect people's property and their livelihood. And that's something that doesn't happen in Chicago. And it's only going to get worse, because the police are going to have, like, you know, less resources to do their job. And I don't know. Look, the city's going to implode. Like, it's not quite, you know, like Los Angeles yet, but it's on its way. And I don't know. I'm just glad I'm in Roanoke. That's all I'm saying. So we got to move on to the next story, though. Mike, did you want to say something?
One last thing I wanted to just shove in there, which is one of the things I thought about this story again today. I was watching a little bit of Tim Pool, and he was talking. He had this video about one of his on the ground guys, Eliyahu. I probably butchered the hell out of that, but it's because it's a very strange name. Elad Eliyahu, I think. He's just at a bar in Brooklyn, and I guess suddenly the the bartender recognize him and just starts screeching at him, calling him a Zionist fascist, and
What?
says he harasses abortion patients and doxes people and basically just chases the guy out of the bar, and props to Elad. He just calmly walked out of the place. Then the guy starts following him, screaming things at him, and then uploads a separate video afterwards going like, this is everyone's duty. Every time you see a fascist in public, you either gotta punch a Nazi or expose those fucking dirtbags.
Yeah.
And first off, just the pure comedy of calling someone a Zionist and a Nazi at the same time.
Yeah, that's weird. I was gonna say
interesting.
Like,
to on
square that
Jewish
circle.
Guy.
Those Zionist Nazis.
But
you gotta look out for those guys.
It's bad enough to call someone a Jewish Nazi.
Yeah,
I like, which yes, there were, but it's bad enough to call somebody that, and because that's a very rare thing. But a Zionist Nazi is pretty much impossible.
All it takes is this one guy popping off on him, and like I said, props to him. He stayed calm and just walked out of the place. It's like, this isn't a fight I'm gonna win. But then, like, on his way out, like 2 or other people from the back in the bar, like, yeah, get out of here, Nazi. Yeah. And it's just like,
these people are so lame.
And taking it in conjunction with this story, it's just one thing.
Well, that's the thing.
Get out of big cities.
Get out of the cities. Like, people are like really buying into this shit. I mean, if I wasn't so cynical about humanity, I'd be shocked. But
the one thing I will say about this that really bugs me about Poole and his followers is, like, I ran across a video that he highlighted on Twitter, and I made a comment. What about the people who are financially stuck in the big cities? Because there are people who are in circumstances like, we wouldn't have been able to get out of Dayton when my husband was under a child support obligation. We were not in a situation where we were able to move away. If he'd have quit a job and moved somewhere at that time, he'd have been sent to jail for non-payment of support. And in these urban areas, you're more likely to be divorced. You're more likely to have other problems like that. There are places where you end up with long-term leases, like, and I've seen that just because my mom was a landlord. There are people that ask for long-term leases. She had one lady that had a 10-year lease with her, and it was basically, she negotiated, if I promise to stay here and take care of the place, can I have the same, since it's a mortgage place, can I have the same rent payment for the next 10 years? And my mom decided that was fair, and they had a 10-year lease. So if you have a situation like that and you make an agreement like that, and it has to be on paper. Like in California, if it's on paper, it's legal, but a lease of more than a year isn't if it's not on paper. And I had to look up these laws because I got not exactly flooded, but I got a bunch of people responding with like, well, they assumed I lived in California because I commented, which was really dumb because you're on the internet. Everybody can see what you said, not just the people from the area that you're talking about. But went through these insane mental gymnastics to justify the statement that the individuals in the mugging video voted to be mugged, and that since they were in California at the time, that they deserved it. That they must have been asking for it. Yep. Like, you don't even know in the video, were they residents or were they people who were there because they had a layover at LAX? And you didn't even know if they were trying to leave California. So like it's people get really polarized on issues like this.
Yeah.
And it's really not helpful to fix the problem to just tell everybody to get out. Get out if you can. It's good to get out if you can. But those areas do have to be fixed, and people do have to fight for that. And what's really more likely to happen is those are still going to be big population centers. There's still going to be a big population that stays there. And when they turn around and turn on the politicians that they've been supporting all this time, they're going to turn toward government crackdowns, and that's going to end up being a national thing because they'll still be big enough population centers that they will be able to control the national vote. And then on top of that, you have the issue of, you tell enough people to get out, you get people who are purple pilled, and I would even say indigo pilled, where they're almost blue pilled but not quite, and they move to other cities and turn those places. So you're not really fixing the problem by like just telling people to get out. People have to change their minds about this and stop thinking that everything has a government solution, because it doesn't.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. But we got to move on. Like, we can go on and on about this, but we have to move on to the next story. So I don't want this sausage to be too long because I got to go pick up the wife. So let us know what you guys think about this story in the comments. Do you think he's going to be pardoned? What are the odds of that? Let us know in the comments. Let me just see if there's any super chats or super chows, because I meant to do that. Give me a second. I'm going to open it up here on Discord because sometimes I get chows from some people who like to use the super chow mechanic. I'm not calling it a mechanic. All right, hold on. Yeah, I do have something. Meredith G gives us $5 and says, HBR News 400. In the Perry case, the case was rigged because exculpatory evidence was excluded, which is what we already mentioned that. The judge was prosecuting from the bench in addition to the jury bias of the Austin jury pool. The police investigator found that this was a case of self-defense, and the prosecutor withheld that report. So even the police investigator, but they left it out. Thank you, Meredith. Not at all surprising. Again, like, our justice system has become a political weapon. I don't really think I need to make the case. You can see it everywhere. It's been going on for a long time. So we're going to move on to the next story, though. So let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Okay, so now we got the next story, and I hand this off again to Mike J. It's going to be about New Jersey.
Yeah, it's another
lovely
place to settle down and raise a family and attempt to change local politics, and probably wind up in jail for it. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, through an executive order, signed into law an act that would protect healthcare professionals and patients who undergo gender-affirming care. Which I'd like to just take a second. Isn't it so nice when they call it gender-affirming care?
Yeah.
Like, it's so nice. Like, it's like maid, you know? It's so nice. The maid will come in and take care of you. What's it stand for? No. Let's not talk about that. Let's not call it medical assistance in dying. Let's just stick to the acronym, which is so nice and fluffy sounding. So, the Act guarantees protections for administering such procedures as hormone replacement therapy and sex change surgery. And this is the big part. Regardless of the patient's age. This is the thing no one I've seen seems to be picking up on.
Well, we've always had surgeries for trans people when they were adults. So the idea that somebody would say, I'm going to make it legal. Well, no, it always was for adults. But go ahead.
The act also ensures that state agencies will not cooperate with other state investigations into those traveling to New Jersey or those helping someone else travel to New Jersey to have these procedures performed. I.e., mom decides son is actually daughter. Well, just snatch the kid up and human traffic her over to New Jersey to, get the old chop, pill, swallow.
Yep.
And then wherever you're coming from, they got no case to stand on.
Yep. Yeah, I really got one thing to say about this. And I've been saying this on Twitter quite a bit. This is not about a civil right for people who are transgender.
Of course not.
This isn't about protecting transgender people from discrimination, right? And years ago, when you would see, well, I mean, even in the 50s and 60s, when there was activism for gay rights, trans rights were involved in that, but it was people wanting to be able to go into a grocery store and shop and go home without having somebody follow them out and throw things at them because they looked weird, right? People wanting to be able to have a job without getting fired because they were different. People wanting to be able to go to the pharmacy and get their hormones for their hormone treatment without having the people behind the pharmacy counter laugh at them for who they are. Just be treated like a human being, normal amount of dignity and respect that you would have for any other person in your sphere of association in your daily life. Like, that was it. That was all they were going for. That's fair. Everybody should be able to do that, right? And then you started hearing about how if you aren't attracted to someone because they are trans, like if it's not
it's transphobic,
if it's a reason
if you don't want to
like
have sex with
if it's a reason you're not attracted to someone, because you're attracted to the sex that they identify as and not just the gender that they identify as, then you're transphobic and your boundaries don't matter. And then it became, if their being trans is not a reason for you to be attracted to them, you're transphobic. And now we are getting told that someone who is young enough, whose mind is not developed enough to be, that they're so gullible, they can be convinced that a fairy comes into their house at night and takes their discarded teeth and gives them human-made currency in exchange for them. That you want to tell me that person is competent to consent to a decision that comes with very heavy psychological, social, economic, and psychological risk. The only other people that I have seen make that kind of argument have spent the last 20 years trying to rebrand themselves as minor attracted people.
Yeah. Well, that's right. But that's the thing, though. It's like like it always is. It's like a slow process. First, they ask for something that sounds reasonable. Then they push a little more. Then they push a little more. And, they come right up to the edge.
That's the problem. It's not the same day, right? It is not the same day. And what's really sad is, like, I was following an account on Twitter that was a group of transgender people who were against gender-affirming care for minors.
Of course,
who said, this is something that takes years to confirm. This is something that takes time to be certain of. And you have the whole detransitioner issue as well. And I follow several of them as well, and they've talked about this. Their whole lives have been turned upside down. They were convinced by other people that becoming trans would solve mental health issues that they had that were not gender dysphoria. And so the situation is no longer a minority of people who experience gender dysphoria just trying to figure out a pathway. How do I deal with this in the manner that is the least traumatic for me without getting treated like a freak by everybody, right? And now it is a political group that is actively recruiting other people's kids through a type of conversion therapy, and there are casualties. They've literally gone into a political war on your right to parent your children for this.
Yeah.
And there have been casualties, right? And those casualties, a lot of those casualties are teenagers who have been going through things like bipolar disorder, things like autism. So mental health conditions, and sometimes intellectual disabilities. They're taking advantage of people who have disabilities in order to promote this.
Yeah.
So this is not a simple issue. So my one thing that I want to say about this is, like, first of all, this isn't every transgender person, but like that's important to note that the legitimacy of, hey, treat people like human beings when they're out in public and don't throw rocks at somebody because they're different from you, does not legitimize give us your children and let us inflict upon them the trauma that these people have gone through, that they've had to fight for a right for that treatment for.
Yeah.
It doesn't justify that. And children are not able to consent and do not accept the Mott and Bailey, because the people that are being used as the Mott don't necessarily support it. And I no
Yeah.
longer am able to follow the account for transgender people who do not support gender affirming care for minors, because prior to Musk taking over Twitter, that was banned. That account was banned, and it never came back.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, we should try to be vigilant about this, but I think that okay, so obviously we all agree that, you know, there are people who legitimately experience gender dysphoria and that they need to do whatever, and maybe that means transitioning, but frankly, the conversation on whether or not that's the solution is still
even
kind
that
of
might
up
not
for debate,
be the best
because
thing.
Yeah, it's not settled in that regard. But the issue is not
the one
that.
thing is that you don't mistreat them for that.
Well,
but
yeah,
that's not the issue.
But I mean,
that's not the issue.
I don't think that people should be mistreated for anything. But
right.
But I also I worry about, like, for example, someone trying to make it illegal, because the problem with that is that it's just like making misogyny illegal. Like, you're basically, you know, unless there's something that is actually, you know, an assault or theft or something, there really isn't much you can do, because there are assholes in the world and you can't make being an asshole illegal. But that is not what I'm talking about. Obviously, people should be treated with decency. What I'm saying is, though, is that there is also a social contagion aspect to this whole thing, and it's being pushed on young people, and it's happening from education, it's from our media, it's from parents, you know, it's from all kinds of places, and it's going to get us, like, results for them are going to be mixed, but most of them are probably not going to be good, because this is a one-way street. If you go down this street, there's no going back, really, even though they tell you that it's just a pause button, but that's just not true. And there are a lot of people who really regret it, and it's going to be so many more, like, further on down the line. So this is something that should not be treated trivially, and it should not be pushed on children. Like, full stop, no. If you turn 18 and you're like, I'm certain that this is what I want, then that's on you. It's your money, it's your life, do whatever, I don't care. But children can't.
Perfectly honest, I'm not even sure 18 is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
your
debatable
brain
too.
Still isn't done forming.
Yeah, I think that's debatable too. But I'm just, if I'm gonna be, like, as I don't know, progressive as I'm able, I guess, that I would say, okay, fine, 18. But I still think you're gonna regret it. Like, I think that there's a very, very high chance you're gonna regret it, and
this is
might
one of the
not
issues.
be worth doing.
And this is one of the issues that
yeah.
Should be handled with civil suits. Really,
Absolutely.
if you think about it, and all that's really needed is to label it malpractice, to fail to properly counsel a patient, so that the patient is able to fully understand and fully appraise the medical journey that they're embarking on.
Yeah.
And it can be even stated in the law that if a patient is allowed to do this underage, and a medical professional agrees to do this to an underage patient, and then that patient later on as an adult detransitions and gives as the reason that they need a detransition, that they didn't feel they were properly counseled on this, that they didn't feel that they went through proper vetting of the procedure before they went through it, that they can sue the professional who put them through that and force that professional to pay for their detransitioning treatment and punitive damages.
Right, sure.
Pain
Not
and suffering.
In New Jersey, you can't.
But
well, and like that would be enough right there. But I guarantee you, because I've seen this with abortion, if you take measures to facilitate lawsuits against physicians and other practitioners that have taken advantage of, because this is a very profitable industry, that have taken advantage of these people, people who are autistic, who are being convinced that they're not autistic but trans, or people who are going through other issues and they're being convinced that this can be solved by treating it as if it's gender dysphoria when it's not, right? If you try to support the right to receive good medical treatment by facilitating lawsuits against practitioners that engage in malpractice, you will get the same result that you got in the abortion industry, where, I mean, I had pig shit thrown in my face in the 80s over this, literally pig shit thrown in my face.
Sure.
And you can tell because it has a particular smell. It's different from any other animal. But in any case, they didn't want a law in Ohio that gave women the right to know which doctor performed their abortion in an abortion clinic. That's it. They didn't want malpractice lawsuits against physicians.
Sure.
And I guarantee you that's going to happen in this situation as well. They don't want malpractice suits against physicians that do this.
Yeah. Well, of course, these doctors, they want to protect themselves.
Right.
But again,
But that's how this should be handled. Not outlawing the care. Now, as far as
nobody's talking about doing that though. Like I said,
not outlawing the care.
It was always something that people could do. We're just saying it shouldn't be happening to children.
Right.
Because
but
they
shouldn't outlaw parents making that decision. But at the same time, if a kid grows up and their parents have used them for progressive points,
well, that's
and they weren't really trans, they should be able to sue their parents too.
I think a lot of that's going to be coming in the next couple years.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think,
guys, we're going to see a reckoning of suicide like you would not believe in the next 10 years.
Absolutely.
This is really going to be a bloodbath.
There's going to be quite the spike.
Probably.
I am afraid of what's going to happen to the next generation because of this. Because I'm watching, like, just about every Zoomer I meet has had some level of conversion therapy to where they believe they are on a gender spectrum.
Yep.
And identify in such a way. And there's a big percentage of them that are on hormones that they shouldn't be taking now. And those really have an impact on your brain development.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I'm going to move on, but before I do...
Wasn't done with the write-up.
Oh, you weren't? I'm sorry.
I thought you had read about the...
There was one sentence left.
There was one sentence
left, which is... that this comes on the heels of many states banning such procedures for minors. And New York also attempted to pass a similar bill last May, but it stalled shortly after being introduced. So
all right.
All the usual suspects are trying to get this set up, and I think we're nearing some sort of split here in the US. I hate to say it, but
yeah, we are.
The lines are being very neatly drawn up, especially along issues like this.
Yeah?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who suddenly are against parents' rights to be involved in big decisions that their children are making.
Yeah,
and it's really, that's another scary thing, because that becomes a situation of children being taken away from their parents and raised collectively.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like they want to be the parents of these other people's kids. So, before we go to the next story, I just want to make
their own kids. They have to have yours.
Yeah. They can't have their own kids, right? Exactly. So they want to have yours. I want to mention, as it is kind of related. So there was all this talk about this thing where Dylan Mulvaney became a brand ambassador for Bud Light, and all the people were chiming in. And I did see this come out eventually from other YouTube channels, but I wanted to mention what I thought was most striking about this. It's not this, like, this is kind of bait. Like, they're obviously just attacking masculinity through this cheap piss beer. Go drink Pabst Blue Ribbon if you really want something. There's plenty of alternatives. Yes, Get Woke, Go Broke does work. You just have to, like, focus. But the thing that I wanted to point at is the person behind this. Her name is Alyssa Heinerscheid, and she did an interview on a podcast called Make Yourself at Home. And she said, I am a businesswoman. I had a really clear job to do when I took over Bud Light. And it was, this brand is in decline. It's been in decline for a really long time. And if we do not attract young drinkers to come and drink this brand, there will be no future for Bud Light, Heinerscheid said. Heinerscheid's comments have gone viral days later. So she basically talked about how she's a feminist, okay? That's the most important thing. She's a feminist. She did not have and get this job on merit. She got it because she was going to bring diversity and inclusion to the brand. That's literally what she said. It's the talking point. And the just like everything else that involves, like, feminists coming in and destroying the brand, it was something that was essentially, like, mostly used and consumed by men. And that's why they did it. It's not because they're looking to make profit. She's trying to make a statement. She doesn't care about the money. She doesn't care about the brand. She will drive it into the ground. And that is kind of what's happening, because it's not just consumers that aren't buying it. Not that I think they should, because I don't think it's a great beer, but that doesn't matter. It's inexpensive. But it's also liquor store owners, distributors, men across the board are, walking away. But I really needed people to know that this is a feminist move. This is just like how they do it in every aspect of our culture. This is not woke capitalism. Stop using that word. You don't know what it means. This is simply activists destroying companies to make a point. That's all I wanted to say about that. And that was intentional.
Well, and I'm going to add something to it. And start by asking yourself, how many degrees of separation between Budweiser and BlackRock, right? Because I bet there aren't as many as you think.
They
own everything.
And Disney.
Yeah. And so here's the thing. You do have a group of elites that want control over everything you do. They want to control over what you buy. They want control over where you live. They want control over who you vote for. They want control over everything. They want a compliant society that works, funds their government, and shuts up and puts up with being completely and utterly controlled. Own nothing, eat the bugs, and be happy being a drone, essentially, of the government. Right? That is what they want. They're making that very clear. They're talking about it
openly.
In public, openly. It's not a secret. It's not a conspiracy theory. A conspiracy theory requires there to be some sort of secrecy about the conspiracy. When someone comes up and tells you, I'm going to take everything you own and you're going to like it, that's not a conspiracy theory anymore. That's them telling you what they're doing. All right? Mm-hmm. And so wokeness is a tool for this. It is a set of rules that exploits the feminine tendency to, for like D&D people will understand the concept of rules lawyering. Rules lawyering is basically when you use the rules of your environment against your colleagues, the people around you, your fellow citizen, your fellow gamer, in order to get ahead yourself without allowing them the same chance at getting ahead themselves. And it exploits that to use people to control each other. So they are pushing this woke ideology to get people to turn on their neighbors and turn in their neighbors,
Yeah.
to judge their neighbors, to hate their neighbors, to fear their neighbors, to fear each other, to judge themselves unworthy of making their own decisions, and to accept being controlled. And part of that is attacking your right to observe observable realities, appraise those observable realities, and then make your decisions based on your appraisal of observable reality. So you have this situation where, sorry, we've got people knocking on our door like over and over again. In any case, so these mega corporations getting involved in this woke advertising, they're not doing it because they're trying to attract a new generation of consumer. They're not doing it because they think this is popular and this is going to win them customers at all. They're doing it because imposing this on you to the point where you're surrounded by it, you're browbeaten by it, and you know that you can't escape it, and you view it as inevitable and something that you cannot fight back against because it's everywhere, right? Hammering home that this is your new reality and you better just deal with it is useful to them. That is why they do it. And the reason that they feature celebrities that are famous for being ridiculously in-your-face woke isn't anything to do with the idea that these celebrities are going to help sell their product.
Yeah.
Right? It's to pay off these people who have made, like, their only fame is being in-your-face woke. That they've made that their life. They've clowned themselves for the state. They've clowned themselves for the establishment. This is their payoff. This is money laundering.
Yep.
This is these businesses engaging in political campaigns without admitting that they are engaging in political campaigns.
Yeah.
So that these people can convince you that you have no choice. That
Yeah.
the people who the politicians that support this stuff are the right politicians. They're the ones that are going to win, and that you are an outsider who doesn't have any support from any other people within your community if you vote against them. And that's where this is headed. So
yeah, that's what it's all about.
Never,
it's what it's always been about.
Right. So boycotting Budweiser isn't going to fix the problem.
Yeah, but I mean,
not that I think you should buy Budweiser, but
yeah, like I mean, why not? I'm not saying it's like
right.
It's like the fix, but like make them make them suffer. Stop. Like,
but I am seeing a lot of that on and then boycotting.
Don't give money to people who hate you, is what I'm saying.
Boycotting. A lot of people I've noticed on Twitter are talking about boycotting Bud Light for other Anheuser-Busch beers. Like,
I mean,
you have no idea how
big
this fucking company is.
This is a decent segue. I've got the list if you want me to rattle them off real quick.
But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't boycott. But that's the root of the problem is much deeper than this one company. I mean, we've talked about this with Gillette. We've talked about this with other companies. This is something that you have to address by maintaining contact with your friends and family and reinforcing each other's hold on reality. Because that is what's under attack.
Yeah,
and don't let people tell you it's an attack on women either, because it's not. It is an attack on you. Whether you're male or female, it is an attack on you, your perception of reality.
Yeah.
But what about that list?
Might take a breath or two here. Obviously, Budweiser and Bud Light, and I did have no end of chuckles watching people go, "Man, fuck Bud Light. I'm gonna stick to Budweiser from now on."
Oh God.
I still don't know if those people were joking or not. So the two obvious ones: Kona Brewing Company, Michelob Ultra, Natural Light, Busch Beer, Estrella Jalisco, Stella Artois, Landshark, Presidente, Hoegaarden, Shock Top, which sucks. I like Shock Top. 10 Barrel Brewing, Appalachian Mountain Brewery, Blue Point Brewing, Breckenridge Brewery, Cisco Brewers, Devil's Backbone Brewing, Elysian Brewing, Four Peaks Brewing, Golden Road Brewing, which is another one I fucking like. They have a very smooth Hefeweizen. Goose Island, Karbach Brewing, Omission Balanced Brewing, Platform, Red Hook, Square Mile Cider, Vezzer Sur, Virtue Cider, Wicked Weed Brewing, Widmer Brothers Brewing, Winewood Brewing, Babe, Cutwater Spirits, Highball Energy, Neutral Vodka Seltzer, and Rita's. And with all that being said, I will let you know. You know what? Look, you know what? Alcohol has never preached at me. Plastic bottle generic vodka.
Yeah. Well, again,
plastic bottle generic vodka respects my beliefs. Plastic bottle generic vodka will never pander to a certain gender. Plastic bottle generic vodka will be there for you in your time of need.
And if you like beer, there's still a lot of options. You know, we don't have to go into it, but there's plenty of options. So if you guys have any suggestions, I saw somebody said that Blue Moon is apparently not part of that company. But if the only thing that because look, I think that you can totally, guard your sense of reality and boycott companies that you don't like at the same time. Crazy, I know, but all you have to do is not buy their shit. So that's not hard, So I mean, get Schlitz or Colt 45 or Michelob or God knows, there's plenty.
As a former resident of Texas,
PBR,
Shiner Bock, baby.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
nobody's gonna know what I'm talking about, but I didn't hear Warped Wing on there, and that's actually local here in Dayton.
Yeah, there's plenty of local.
Start asking for Trotwood beer.
Microbrews.
Places outside the area won't know what you're talking about, but they'll go looking for it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's, like I said, it's not hard. It's like, when people say, well, if you're gonna, boycott this product X, you can't also be boycotting product Y. Why not? Like, it's literally just not buying their shit. That's not that much work. Like, I don't have a Disney Plus subscription, and it's really easy. I just don't do it. It doesn't take any work. But anyway, let us know what you guys think about this in the comments. And let us know in the comment section. So I'm gonna move on to the next story because we got a
super chow I did with.
Oh yeah, I did. I saw that. Let me go ahead and read the super chow. Miss Anne of Arc gives us $5. Thank you, Miss Anne of Arc. And they say, Oregon won't let you use DHS adoption services if you refuse to support any kids you adopt if they come out as trans. So basically, children that turn out to be trans, you can't. You won't let you use the services if you refuse to essentially engage in their delusions. All right. Well, thank you, Miss Anne of Arc. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next story. This might be good news. So I just want to say this might be good. According to Johns Hopkins Kimmel Cancer Center and Bloomberg Kimmel Institute for Cancer Immunotherapy, oh my God, Enoblituzumab is a new monoclonal antibody drug has shown promise in fighting aggressive prostate cancer. According to the study, in a clinical trial, 32 men with high risk or very high risk of prostate cancer, with high risk prostate cancer, so they had prostate cancer, they weren't just at risk of it, who were scheduled for prostate cancer surgery, were treated with 6 weekly infusions of enoblituzumab prior to surgery and were followed for an average of 30 months thereafter.
Brian, if you say that name a third time, you're going to summon a demon, so please stop.
I know. It does sound like a demon's name. 21 patients, or 66%, had an undetectable prostate-specific antigen, level 12 months following surgery, suggesting that there was no sign of residual disease. Additionally, the drug was well tolerated overall. No patients had any surgical delays or medical complications during or after the operation. According to Eugene Shenderov, MD, If the drug continues to perform well in further studies, it can be used to fight multiple cancers, with the first role for prostate cancers. So we're doing prostate cancer first. That's kind of interesting. According to Senenderov's, oh God, this thing again.
Unpronounceable medication, says Wikipedia snippet.
E-drug.
Works.
E-drug.
What do you say?
E-drug.
Unpronounceable medication.
Unpronounceable.
Yeah, right.
You know, like Mr. Unpronounceable medication.
The medication works by binding to a protein called B7H3 that is overexpressed on prostate cancer cells and believed to impede the immune system's ability to attack cancer cells. The new therapy could pack a 1-2 punch against cancer by blocking B7H3's inhibition of the immune system's recognition and elimination of cancer cells, and also triggering a process called antibody-dependent cellular cytotoxicity, ADCC, which leads to tumor cell destruction by activating additional immune cells such as macrophages and natural killer cells. End quote. So, looks like there is a promising development with regards to prostate cancer, but also cancer in general. It's just that the discovery was made, I guess, while fighting against prostate cancer. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
Hey, cool. Whatever helps kick cancer's ass, I'm all down for. I hope it's the best thing since sliced bread and chemo.
Yeah, and honestly, this is really encouraging because it's going after the mechanism that cancer uses to prevent your body from fighting it. And so it's using your body's own defenses to fight the cancer instead of, like, chemo is basically poison that is used to kill the cancer, and they hope that it kills the cancer before it kills you. And radiation is poison that they're trying to kill the cancer, and they hope it kills the cancer before it kills you.
Mm-hmm.
And radical surgery is used to cut the cancer out, so that there's less of it to fight with the chemo and radiation. But this actually is enabling your body to fight to defend itself.
Yeah,
is actually what healthcare is supposed to be. So this would be a huge advancement. It's not just a tiny little step forward. This is actually a huge advancement. If this goes through and it works, and it continues to have, you know, this level of success and this level of lack of side effects and everything, this is going to be great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. And I gotta tell you, man, I've done chemo. It sucks. And because I had cancer in 2017, in case you guys don't know. And I wouldn't, like, you know, I got through it, but I wouldn't recommend it. So, and I think radiation is worse. So, if this works, you know, I mean, like, if they keep working on it, I think it's like, it could be like a turn, like a real serious change in the fight against cancer. So, I guess we'll see, but I think this is very encouraging, and I'm glad that, you know, they started this with prostate cancer, because prostate cancer is very underserved in terms of, like, you know, drives and funding and such. So I'm kind of surprised that these guys manage this when it's not like it's not breast cancer, which, you know, gets like way more money. There was like some multitude more, and both prostate cancer and breast cancer are basically, like, you know, fatal they're both as serious as each other. But breast cancer gets way more money.
Man, the thing I always wonder about with breast cancer money is how much of it goes to administration.
Oh, I'm sure that it gets caught up in lots of red tape, and it changes hands a lot.
That's because there's all this marketing around collection of breast cancer money, and there's not so much around collection of prostate cancer money. And I kind of wonder, when you look at the end result and what the actual research effort receives, I'll bet they're not all that different. I'll bet the majority of what people are donating to breast cancer research actually goes to administrators and marketers and stuff like that. And then a minority of it actually goes to the research.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
And
Well,
plus, there's
anyway.
a lot of awareness raising for breast cancer that is just dumb.
Yeah.
That people don't do. Well, yes, I'm aware of breast cancer now. Now what?
Yeah.
Be
Well,
more aware.
Be more aware.
Yeah. Make other people aware. Anyway, but yeah, I thought this was nice and kind of a positive story. So let us know what you guys think about this. Do you know anybody who has cancer of any type, or maybe like specifically has or had prostate cancer? How well did they do? Let us know in the comments. Let me just check to make sure I'm not missing any super chows. No, I'm not. So let us know what you guys think about this in the comments. We're going to move on to the next story. I found this one interesting because it's obvious. So a new study has come out looking at the sex differences in the presentation of major depression. Women, and this is the thing that's interesting. So I just want to clarify before we get into it. We have treated like mental health issues between men and women as the same, as though men and women are the same, and that's how we and we tend to use the kind of like guidelines for women as the primary, because it's maybe because women are more likely to seek therapy or whatever, but we just apply the same stuff to men as well. And so this is why this study is interesting. I don't know if the APA is gonna act on it or change anything, but it's still good to know. So anyway, a new study has come out looking at the sex differences in the presentation of major depression. Women are twice as likely to receive a diagnosis of depression compared to men, and the study sheds light on a possible genetic link. The McGill University study included more than 270,000 individuals and found a sex-specific model could better predict an individual's genetic risk for developing depression than one without a sex-specific focus. The researchers found 11 areas of DNA, so this is like looking at DNA, that were linked to depression in females. So 11 areas of DNA in women and only one area in men. They also found that depression was linked to metabolic disease in females. Biological processes like regulation of gene expression emerge from sex-specific gene networks. The study found that aggregating male and female data together masked signals that could help in tailored therapeutic options. The researchers concluded their, quote, results are intended to add to the rationale for studies of sex-specific mechanisms, end quote. And there is a link to the study, if you guys want to look at it yourself, in the description. Or actually, there's a link to the Patreon page, which has a link to the study. So anyway, yeah, there is that. As a surprise to no one, men and women experience depression differently. And women experience it more frequently. So, I don't know what you guys want to say anything about that.
Sorry about that. One of the interesting things about this, because I was diagnosed with major depression when I was in school. And now my diagnosis was off. They went from major depression to a whole bunch of other things that ultimately ended up being linked to the steroids they had me on, and so I went through a whole series of medical mishaps because of that. But in terms of major depression, I went through depression, like and seeing this kind of is interesting because one of the things that got me diagnosed was a lack of motivation. Like I just didn't want to do anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Zip. Didn't want to get out of my chair. I had mono.
Like so that was actually causing your depression, or that
mononucleosis.
Yeah.
Yes. So when I finally recovered from the mononucleosis, like they already had me on 2 Prozac a day, right? And I go to college, and the Prozac started fucking with me. And part of it is I'm recovered from the thing that was causing. I probably still had some level of depression because there were other things going on, but and part of it was not needing serotonin. It created a serotonin imbalance, and caused me to go through a level of insomnia that reading about what can make insomnia deadly, I almost died because I was awake for 10 days.
Oh my God. I'm actually having.
I was hallucinating.
I'm having a hard time sleeping. I mean, I do sleep, but I ever since I got out of the hospital, I just have not had a good night's sleep.
Right.
Since. So
it's difficult. But this was like literally not a good night's sleep. Like I
couldn't sleep.
Would just lay there at night and cry because I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
Like it was. I can still remember some of it. But then we didn't. My roommate and my friends didn't know what was going on because I don't talk about stuff like that when it's happening to me. I've never been demonstrative of like I'll go through a trauma completely alone right in front of everybody because I don't talk about it. I internalize everything. And then one day we were walking from my dormitory to the what you'd call the student union. It had a family name. It was named after the family that donated for the building. And I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and my other friends asked me who I was talking to, and I told them, and they said, she went home for the weekend.
Yeah.
And that's when it turned into a nightmare. And I don't remember anything after that, except my roommate, I was really lucky. I was rooming with an EMT trainee at the time. So she was actually physically restraining me in my room while my other friend called my parents. And my parents called my shrink, and they put me on more medication. And so a lot of this bugs me when I see this, like, is it actually depression, or are women getting misdiagnosed? Because when you say lack of motivation, or when you say, well, I'm sad all the time, or I'm dissatisfied with my life, they're not looking at, hey, are you studying the wrong thing at university? Did you have mononucleosis recently? Are you making life choices because feminism says you should want these things, but you really don't? And so on. Women have a tendency to, like, I was raised with an expectation that I would, just the same as a guy, that I would be prepared to be a breadwinner in my home. And it served me well. But at the same time, I was not in a situation where I should have gone to university at 18, studied a major at that university, and attempted to launch my adulthood because I was going through medical trauma that I was not telling everybody about. And so, I think a lot of women do this thing where, well, everybody thinks I should have a career, so I'm going to go have a career. What do I got to do? Let's see. Everybody says that we need more women in STEM. I may not be interested in it, but I'm going to go into STEM. And then they either launch and crash, or they fail to launch and they get diagnosed with depression. And they're going to look at this and say, well, women just have a natural tendency to be more depressed. Depression is inevitable. When in reality, these genetic tendencies may predispose women toward a different set of interests and a different set of impulses than men. And when we go against those interests and impulses, that may lead to symptoms of depression, but they will drug women because of this.
Yeah.
And the industry that does this makes a shit ton of money convincing people that it's not your fault if you're dissatisfied with your life. It's you have a chemical imbalance, and if you just take these pills, everything will get better.
Yep.
Well, let me really briefly tell you. Besides I'm almost dying from insomnia, because 10 days is a hell of a long time to stay awake.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, when you get that, there are people who have died from
it'll kill you if you
physical
don't sleep.
trauma. when you don't sleep, there is physical trauma that happens in your body. Like my arrhythmia in my heart was going ballistic during that time. And there were other things that were happening during that time that were really bad as well. But the other thing that happened with Prozac was, and this is where, like I say, I've always said I probably did have some level of depression. I don't think it was necessarily chemical, because the drugs they gave me did nothing to help get rid of it. Right? What they did do was, when I had suicidal ideation, they took away my anxiety regarding the potential consequences of acting on those impulses. Right? The only thing that stopped me at that point was, it's immoral to kill yourself.
Yeah.
And under my religious practice, right? As my underlying religious belief through my entire journey has been that the human soul, based on everything that I've heard from every religion, is part of God, a tiny little part of God in your body. And the reason that religions that admonish you to love the people around you do so is because you are all part of the same thing. So when people kill another person, or they kill themselves, they're taking out whatever mission God set that part of that little soul on, right? That's the only thing that kept me alive when I was on Prozac, was a moral obligation to continue living, because I'm here for something. I had something to do, and I hope I'm doing it now. But it really is scary that they're looking at this in terms of just drawing a conclusion that it's that your DNA causes depression, that you're genetically predisposed and depression is inevitable. And I really hope that I'm wrong about this, and they're not going to use this as an excuse to just mass drug women. Because if they do, we are going to see a lot of dysfunction as a result of it, and it's going to impact the women that they do this to, and then it's also going to impact their partners and their children. It'll be the next generation of mother's little helper.
Well, I mean, one has to wonder too, like, with all of the things that we are consuming, like, pesticides, plastics, corn syrup, and other seed oils, as well.
Yeah, that's the other thing, the metabolic disorder connection here.
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do? Tell women to go on diets? Because that's politically incorrect.
It is. I don't know.
But it's not wrong.
And then there's, like, the birth control pill. Like, what if that, like, over generations has also affected, their genetics?
Yeah.
So there's a number of things that might have to be reevaluated as a consequence of this. But let us know what you guys think about that in the comments. I mean, are you at all shocked that men and women experience depression for different reasons and at different rates, and that women are far more likely to experience it than men? Why do you think that might be? And what do you think about, like, the evidence or that they have with regards to DNA and metabolism? Let us know.
It couldn't have anything to do with the fact that men are raised as boys to be purpose-driven, and women are raised as girls to be popularity-driven, or anything like that either.
I don't think so. I doubt it. That
doesn't
sound...
not in the least.
There's no way.
Nah. A bit.
And
maybe.
Also that boys are kind of like, let's say, they don't have an option of, being like, they have to do what they have to do. And so it sort of, like, steals them for things that might be disappointing or whatever. I don't know. But let us know what you guys think about this in the comments. I do have a Rumble rant from NovaFan21 for $1. And they say, does this mean the Quartering will launch a beer brand beer company? Well, I don't know, man. Maybe. But I would just just go to your microbreweries in your area. They're very popular now. Like I said, if you gotta have beer, then do that. And if you're up to it, maybe have a pint of Guinness.
Support your local small business.
Yeah, a loaf of Guinness is what we used to call it. So yeah. Check and see what's local, because that's probably what we're all should be doing anyways.
Or you could be like me and get organ damage from the jab and have to stop drinking altogether.
Oh no! All right.
At least for now, I don't know if
well, you know what? I don't
improve over you. But yeah.
I don't drink.
I mean,
anyway,
alcohol's not exactly great for you, but it's not bad to have. If you don't have organ damage from the jab, it's not bad to have. Have one now and then. Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't really drink beer, but at all. But I don't really drink that anymore.
I miss Guinness.
I'm gonna have wine this weekend, though.
I will once again shill for generic plastic bottle handle vodka.
Yeah,
I hate vodka.
Generic plastic bottle of vodka.
Oh, I do too. That's why I mix with things.
I don't like wine that much either. So
Jose Cuervo, that's me.
I had my very simple just get my Guinness and have one every couple of days, and now I can't.
I will say, if I could afford good quality vodka, that'd be a different story. But alas, the money supply.
Plastic bottle. It's good when you're sick. I was sick, and I had these Russian customers, of course, and they were like, "You should drink vodka."
I'm Irish. I'll tell you, it's whiskey. Whiskey is better for you than vodka. And the alcohol, if you have pneumonia, and it's bacterial, just remember the reason that a breathalyzer test works is because alcohol gets secreted into your lungs. So a hot toddy, not getting plowed, okay, but a hot toddy works as an expectorant. Because it irritates the lining of the lungs a little bit and helps you cough that shit up.
All right. Sounds good.
Get loud responsibly.
Yeah.
All right. So, whatever you do, drink responsibly.
Hot toddy, not 15. 15 will suppress your immune system and everything else.
Also, I like mead. Mead is good. It's pretty strong, too.
It is good stuff.
Yeah, I like mead.
That's actually the only wine I like.
Yeah, it's good. And I'm also a rum guy, but that's just because I'm from Puerto Rico. So anyway, us pirates, the shipwrecked Mexicans. All right, but anyway, with all that said, we're gonna wrap it up here and go into the patron show where we will find out how porn is actually cheating. So if you guys want to join us, please become a member at feedthebadger.com. and start a monthly. You can just do the $5, and if you can't, you can also just join the free part of it just by going to badgernation.online. It doesn't cost anything. You won't have access to all the rooms, but you'll be able to hang out with the other the patrons, as well as other people who have jumped in there. Just be a part of our community. I think that community is very important, and I think that we should continue to sort of promote it. So all right. With all that said, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications so you know when our streams go live, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today, and please, 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 please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.